There we have our steeplechasers coming out, lining up. They'll be getting ready to embark on 7.5 laps. Very technically difficult event is a steeplechase, and one I'm sure these girls will be very proficient at. So a quick look down the start list. And British interest in Poppy Tank goes in this race. There's 9:53 athletes already this season. That's her personal best. She's a British 3K steeplechase champion, 8th at the UK indoors, so she's got some serious talent over the 3,000 metres as well as the steeplechase, having only taken up steeplechase competitively last year. So some very strong running there in Poppy Tank, and it'll be great to see how she can do here in Nice. Starting on the outside then, Agnieszka CHORZՅPA, the Polish athlete, Hirut MESHESHA, Irene SÁNCHEZ-ESCRIBANO, the Spaniard, Adva COHEN, Semra KARASLAN, Simone FERRAZ, Tatiane, Raquel de Silva, JEPKEMEI, Michelle Finn, Elena BURKARD, Poppy Tank, and Floriane QUESADA. So they are your lineup, and the girls just asking to be reorganised. They've gone down for another stride, and they'll be pulled up to the line again very shortly. You can see lots of striding around, getting themselves primed and ready. We spoke a little bit earlier about the technical difficulties in the steeplechase. Lots of these athletes will struggle when bunched together to get a clear view of the barrier, and that can provide a real challenge when trying to hurdle it smoothly and not disrupt your stride too much. But I'm sure we'll get a very proficient display from several of these athletes, Poppy Tank being one of them. Always telling to look at the water jump as well and how that fares throughout the event. It's all well and good having a strong one at the beginning, but what is jump 5 and 6 and starting to look like as you reach the conclusion of the 3,000 metres? It's like running through treacle by the time you get to the end, it's said. Your fastest on paper for this event, JEPKEMEI. She's followed by Irene SÁNCHEZ-ESCRIBANO, so the Kazakhstan athlete, and the Spaniard, the two fastest. 9:06 JEPKEMEI has run. That's her personal best. Her season's best though, 9:25. So they're called to their marks now. And we are underway in our final track event of the evening. We've got off to a very speedy start, that's for sure. And that looks like our pacemaker has hit the front. Agnieszka CHORZYPA. Nicole will be looking to do a sterling job, I'm sure, and she's slightly ahead of the wave lights as we speak, but I'm sure that will even out and we'll get a slightly more steady pace. Of course, we've got to take into consideration the barriers do take a little bit of time out of the legs. They say add about a second or two per barrier to a flat time. So it's understandable that in the first 200 metres where there are no hurdles to take on, that we are slightly ahead of the wave lights. But very smooth hurdling there from the girls at the front. And that's always good to see in the early stages, conserving as much energy as possible. Athletes want to go over the barrier, not up and above them. You can see slightly more stuttering there from the athletes sat in behind the pacemaker. And hopefully as the nerves settle and the race begins to flow more, those stutters will become less. Interesting techniques to see the athlete at the front stepping on the barrier. That looks like to me like it could be JEPKEMEI. We'll have to see when we get a closer look at the bib numbers. But of course, it's interesting to see a foot on the barrier for some of the dry barriers. Athletes usually tending to, or opting to hurdle them completely when it's not the water jump. You often even see some athletes from Ethiopia or Kenya hurdling the water jump, which is a very impressive feat. and just shows the power and the elasticity that some of these athletes may have. But we're still sat ahead of the wave lights. The pacemaker looking very comfortable, and in fact lots of the athletes have gone with her ahead of the wave lights. They're queuing up behind her, looking very, very within themselves at this stage. Of course, plenty of running left to be done. We're only 2.5 minutes in, about 800 metres or so. But now the athletes decide, we want a bit quicker. The wave lights have caught them up. We want to hold on to that pace. We don't want to let that go. And we can see the lead beginning to chop and change, and the pacemaker CHORZŞIPA has been dropped slightly. Some strong water jumps there from the athletes at the front. We can see those more in the middle of the pack, struggling slightly, landing a little bit deeper. That can really absorb your energy for later on and can make the run really quite a challenge. Climbing out that water pit is a challenge not to be underestimated. But 72 seconds for that lap. First kilometre in 3:07, I think it was. And these athletes, group of 4, split away, looking very smooth indeed. But we move back to the triple jump now.
Decent attempt there. Ro Lewison, best of 15:31 season, in 7th place at the moment. Not sure if he's improved on that there. We'll have to wait and see. Stays in 7th place. That was 15:06.
Par le Sénégalais Amata, 16,51 m. Et en 3e position de l'Inde, Travel avec 16,37 m.
Here is the Chilean athlete, Luis Reyes. Currently in 6th with 15:87. He's fouled twice since then. We were expecting him to be out over 16 metres. Season's best of 16:35. See him just motivating himself there as he takes the runway now. So Luis Reyes of Chile. He's going to foul again. That's another run through. Just hasn't quite gotten his rhythm today. Still got 2 more attempts to try and figure a way of getting over that 16-metre mark. He stays in 6th.
We rejoin the steeplechase action, and that group of 4 still breaking away, holding on to the tail end of those green wave lights now. In fact, it looks like we have a bit of a break between our top 2 athletes. A little bit tricky to ID them in the current position. Ooh, and a very poor sight there indeed from our athlete leading. And that, from an educated guess, has unleashed Sánchez-ESCRIBANO, the Spaniard. Apologies if that is a mistake. Is of course an educated guess without being able to see the numbers fully. But she's now striding down the back straight, looking really full of running, with about 3.5 or so minutes left of running to be done. That is really encouraging to see the stride continuing to be open. 3:08 for that kilometre to take us up to 2k, and that is almost spot on from the first 3:07. So a superb job so far. And you can see a strong water jump there. You can see the athletes now, the 2 that have broken away and leading. Just shows how much the interruptions, we saw a bit of a mistake coming up to the barrier. earlier on, it just demonstrates how important the rhythm is to maintain that energy, maintain momentum, and how much damage it can do. And equally, how much good hurdling technique can be beneficial. You'll see athletes that all come into the barrier at the same time, the same pace, and those that have proficient technique will really come out of a jump 1 or 2 meters ahead, 2 or 3 strides sometimes, and they can look really, really strong. And that can be the difference between taking the gold or the silver by the end of the race. That accumulated energy loss or preservation can be so impactful. You can see the hurdling there from the 2 athletes leading us now is just superb, even at this stage. About 2 minutes or so left to be run. And they're looking really, really strong. Coming into the water jump now. You can see the athlete leading us opting to not push off the water at all. And we've got a fall in the water jump, and that just shows us how detrimental the energy loss can be, how impactful that is. As you start to get tired, the perception of the barriers can really start to be influenced, and athletes begin to make mistakes in their approach. They start to stutter, second guess themselves, and that hesitation can just cause them to fall over. And unfortunately, we have seen a fall in that water jump. It's the penultimate jump. The bell's gone. We're less than 400 meters from the end now. And our lead athlete is in touching distance from the wave lights. It looks like, though, those wave lights have almost gathered momentum in a way. Of course, they stayed consistent, but it'll feel like they are just increasing their speed as the athletes try and chase them down in the final 200 meters. Still smooth in the approach there. Still looking uninterrupted. 200 or so meters to go. We come in towards the final water jump now, and hopefully no more water jump drama. And that is JEPKEMEI looking so strong, the fastest on paper. JEPKEMEI moving into the home straight now, really striding for home, looking so unbothered by the barriers put in her way. She's so smooth, she's so strong, she's out on her own. She's run so strongly in these last 400 meters or so, and has really just put distance between herself and the rest of the field. 9:23 on the clock, so no personal best time, but it's huge season's best, 2 seconds off her best so far in 2024. And I'm sure the athlete who finished 7th in the world cross country will be very pleased with that. She was the under-20 steeplechase world champion in 2012, so just demonstrating her pedigree in this event. And what a display that
big
was.
meeting record as well. Yeah, big meeting record. Takes the time down set in 2001 of 9:25.31 by Justina Bach, I can tell you. So a fantastic performance from JEPKEMEI.
And how lucky we are to have seen that in the final race of this evening. You see there, congratulating Papa Tank, the British athlete.